I'd like to call the February 3rd, 2026 Papillion City Council meeting to order. Ms. Barada, would you please take the roll?
Sunday, Mumgard, Gaines, Glover, Fanslaw, Hoke, Stubbe, Ingberg.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. And do we have an affidavit of publication on file?
We do.
And a current copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the back of the council chambers. Ms. Powers, Administrator's Report, please.
Thank you. The League of Nebraska Municipalities annual Midwinter Conference in Lincoln is February 23rd and 24th this year. Please let Robin or myself know if you still want to be registered for this conference. The deadline is this Friday. And it's hard to believe that the planning for this summer's Papillion Days has already started, with the Papillion Community Foundation taking the lead, like they do every year in the city, supporting the foundation. They have some great ideas for some new events and programs that we're really excited about. And there will be some temporary changes with the anticipation of still completing City Park. And there will also be some permanent new normals with the layouts and what's allowed and not allowed with the vendors. But overall, we're looking forward to another great event this year. And then shifting to the library, with the library master plan nearly complete, the library staff and our consultants, Clark and Anderson, will be meeting with council members on February 17th, both before and after the council meeting. And then following your feedback, Clark and Anderson will be meeting with the public, holding open house meetings at the landing to educate the public and show them the master plans and get their feedback. The exact dates for those meetings, they'll be in March, but the exact dates are still being figured out. So once we get those, we'll make sure we get those out to the public so we can get as much feedback as we can. And then the qualification proposals were due today for the contractor managers at risk for both the Papillion Bay renovation project and also the Halleck Park inclusive playground. We did receive 3 proposals for Papillion Bay and 9 proposals for the Halleck Park playground. And the selection committees will be meeting in February to go through those proposals. And then those committees will be presenting their recommendations to you for consideration of approval in March. And then just a quick reminder that City Hall and offices will be closed on Monday, February 16th in observation of President's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilwoman Hoke. We've got a couple items I know council members want to poll. Councilman Ingberg, you wanted to poll C4?
C4, yes.
C4. And Councilman Sunday, C8 and C11?
Correct.
Okay. Those items are polled. Any others? If not, any proponents or opponents on the consent? Council discussion? Please vote on everything except C4, 8, and 11.
Eight yeas, 0 nays.
Next is item C4, Resolution R260024, resolution to approve change order number 1 with Miko Heaney Construction for additional electrical installations for City Park renovation project in the amount of $15,367. Mr. Ingberg pulled that because there was a minor typo in the resolution. The 300 should be 500, so looking for a motion to amend from 15,367 to 15,567, and that was just a typo, not an actual increase from the contractor. Is there a motion to amend? Second. Motion by Councilman Hope, second by Councilman Fanslow. Any council discussion on the motion to amend? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion item is amended. Is there any discussion on the motion as amended? Mr. Ingberg.
No, it was just a scrivener's error, and we've corrected the amount, so that was the only reason I asked it to be pulled.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? To approve C4. C4. Second by Councilman, motion by Councilman Sunday, second by Councilman Gaines. Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. Next is item C8, Resolution R260028, a resolution to award the contract for the South 90th Street Improvements Highway 370 Grunther Street project to Varana Civil Inc. in the amount of $2,249,416. Is there a Mr. Sunday, do you have a motion to make?
Yeah, I'd like to give a little background. My recollection is when we approved the 90th Street expansion, Ms. Clues was on the council at the time and asked the question whether this would affect any of the properties. But the direction of the expansion moved westward, and we were assured at the time, my recollection is that we were assured at the time, no, everything would be moving to the east. And I learned tonight that that's not totally correct. And so I'd like to table these two for just 2 weeks till the next meeting with the intention of approving these orders at the next meeting to give us time to look further into these issues.
Just real quick for Ms. Hutter, C11 is a related item. Can we handle those in one motion, or do we need to do them separate if there's a motion to table?
It would be cleaner to
Handle them separate, okay. So we have a motion to table until the next meeting to clarify some of the previous discussion. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Gaines. Any discussion on the motion to table? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. So C11 is a related item, Resolution R260031, a resolution to award the contract for construction observation services related for the 90th Street Improvements Highway 370 to Grunther Street project to Alfred Benish and Company in the amount of $366,809. Mr. Sunday.
Same motion. Mr. Sunday.
Second by Councilman Gaines. Any discussion? Mr. Ingberg,
No, sorry.
please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes. What's that? We need what? He said next meeting. Question that was just the side discussion was we needed a date, but your motion was to the next meeting. Yes. Okay, so is that good? Okay, thank you. Item E1, Ordinance 2074, an ordinance to amend Section 205-199 agricultural uses and 205-28A home-based business home occupations of Article 33 supplemental use regulations of Chapter 205 zoning having to do with supplemental uses for agricultural and accessory residential uses. The applicant's the City of Papillion. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. Do we have any proponents or opponents on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Item E2, Ordinance 2076, an ordinance to approve a change of zone from R2 single-family residential medium density to GC general commercial for the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 20, Papillion, an abutting vacated 2nd Street right-of-way generally located on the southwest corner of East 2nd Street and North Beetle. The applicants are Connie and Gary Martin, Papillion Replat 3. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. Proponents, welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Douglas Treason, 10836 Old Mill Road, appearing on behalf of the applicants. This is the expansion of an existing commercial property located at 2nd and Beetle. For some reason, the corner was zoned residential before the rest of the block is zoned commercial. So what we're wanting to do is add some additional building space to the east side, as well as improve the parking lot. Currently there's cars that park on the street, and some of the suppliers end up having to unload from the street. We'd like to alleviate that problem. At our original submittal, we were trying not to involve the neighbor to the south, and we had storm sewer over into Beetle Street. We since have negotiated with the neighbor to keep all of the storm sewer on private property and not have to mess around with utilities or closing Beetle Street. The vacant ground is encumbered by a big sanitary sewer easement. The outfall that goes through town goes through there. So it's pretty tough to do residential there with the small corner that's left. This seemed to make a lot more sense to the applicants, and I guess with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Bumgard.
Okay, you say you're going to add a building and you're going to add additional parking lot down there. There's currently a parking lot now that you have access in and out onto Second Street, correct?
I think yes, onto Second Street.
Okay, to the north, the street on the north side.
Correct.
And so basically, that's where the cars that come there for suppliers, for employees, for customers, they have to come from the north and park then in that parking lot on the north side of the building.
That's correct.
Okay. And so if you expand the building to the east and expand the parking lot, that will continue and perhaps even increase.
Yes, the additional parking will accommodate the additional building space,
And the additional traffic if they're.
as well as provide a secondary exit. Right now, you have to go in one driveway and out the same driveway.
Sure. And the secondary exit will be over at the east end of your parking lot, just off the intersection with Beetle.
Correct, it's further east, and it does exit back to the north onto Second Street.
Okay. If Beetle was extended the additional 50, 60 feet to connect to First Street, then you would be able to either A, have a drive onto Beetle, or people coming and going from that back parking lot could come off of First Street, up the 1 block, half block or so of Beetle, and into your parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But as it stands now, every car that needs to go back there, either currently or in the future, has to drive through that entire residential district, because north of this building and this area, this lot, it's entirely residential, and to the east also. So you're really envisioning that you are either going to keep the cars that are going there now traveling through the neighborhood, or increase the number of cars traveling through the neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
Okay, for that reason, I can't support it.
Any other Mr. Sunday?
I just have a quick question, sir. What kind of traffic, what numbers of vehicles are coming in and out every day on a normal basis? Do you know?
The applicant, Connie Martin's here. She's more familiar with the operations. I think there's maybe a semi-truck a day.
I'm Connie Martin, and I'm the owner of the building.
Can you come up to the podium, please?
I currently have 2 tenants. The first of my tenants is a company by the name of Greek Spirits. They have 4 employees, so 3 to 4 cars per day come in and out. The other tenant is Titan Services. They're a roofer, cider, painter, gutter provider. They have less than 12 employees, so up to 12 cars. They do have 5 pickup trucks that they use as a part of their business, and 6 trailers that you'll see outside if you've driven by the business. They usually get 1 semi a week with supplies and material, maybe 2 in the summertime when they're really busy.
So, just so I'm going to kind of repeat to make sure I understand
Sure.
correctly. 4 employees with the one business, about 12 with the other.
Yes.
Maybe a semi per day. But other than those things, no heavy traffic coming in and out of there?
Probably not a semi per day, probably 1 semi per week,
Per week, sorry.
2 at most during the summer when they're really busy.
Okay, and there's not a lot of in and out traffic otherwise?
It's not, both of those businesses are not retail businesses. Greek Spirit does all of its transaction online, or they go to fraternities and sororities to sell their products. So it's not like I have anybody coming in, parking, and purchasing at that location.
Mr. Fanslow.
So I had a few, I don't know if I have any questions, but I'll just go on the public record. I had a few concerns about this when I first saw it. I talked to staff before this meeting, and the fact that cars that are parked on the street are going to get off the street and now park in this parking lot, and the fact that there's that easement running through that lot, and it's basically unusable ground for another structure because of that easement. I feel a lot, I do have concerns. I had more concerns before I talked to staff today about additional traffic through the neighborhood, the residential neighborhood to the north. Staff gave me a comfort level where I'm okay with it. I mean, it's an existing situation. Not much you can do with the lot. Extra parking, get people off the street. I think that's a small benefit to the residential property owners to the north. And, you know, back to Mr. Mumgard's comment, maybe someday Beale Street will go through. It just doesn't go through now. And if it does someday, then you'll have another means of coming and going from your property. So, thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponents or opponents?
I have a question.
Yes.
The addition that's going on, is that to house a third business, or is it expansion space for existing businesses?
You know, the two renters, lessees that I have currently want the space. They are interested in expanding, and so they've already made a commitment with me. If I can build the building, they want all of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead and close the public hearing. Is there a motion? Whoop, hold on. I got out of order. This is just a public hearing. I got out of order here. Yep, that was just public hearing, so I'll close the public hearing. Thank you. Next is item F1, Resolution R260020, a public hearing and a vote. A resolution to approve a Class C liquor license for DRC Foods Corp. doing business as El Muchacho Alegre, 8810 South 71st Plaza, and a manager application for David Cruz Santos. That's a public hearing. I'll open it. Proponents, and I know the applicant's here. You want to take a minute to give a little commercial of what you're doing? I've already had some people saying they're excited about what you're doing, so if you could share a little bit.
Hello, everyone. I'm just here to try to request our liquor license for our new restaurant. We have already one on North 72nd and 168. So we just hope that we have our liquor license.
Tell us a little bit about the restaurant.
So it's a lot of things going on right now. We are doing some flooring and everything. So we just gonna try to bring authentic cuisine, authentic Mexican food for you guys.
And it's taken the on the border.
Yeah, we are
building.
taking on the border. They used to be on the border, so it's gonna be our third location for now.
And locally owned, not a chain.
Yep, no, it's a local.
Thank
Yep.
you very much. Do we have any other proponents or opponents? I'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R260020? Motion by Councilman Sunday, second by Councilman Glover. Any discussion? Please vote.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thanks for doing what you're doing, and thanks for investing. Appreciate it. Next is Resolution R260021, a resolution to approve applications for the 2026 summer fireworks season. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R260021? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Ingberg. Council will need to make a motion to amend to determine who gets an additional license. As you remember, the ordinance allows for 14 licenses. We have 15 applicants. We've got a priority system set up for who gets them. It has to do if you've had 5 years consecutive, and nonprofit plays into that. One of the applicants does have more than 5 years. However, they've pulled the application a couple of times, so they're one of those two. And then the other one is new. All of the applicants are listed in the staff report. So I guess what I would look for is from council, is there a motion to amend Resolution R260021 to issue the remaining license for the 2026 selling period to, and somebody making a motion needs to fill that in. And it's either First Lutheran Church or Southridge. Mr. Mumgard.
Okay, I'll make a motion to add as the 14th licensee, Southridge Church.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Fanslow. Any proponents or opponents? Council discussion? Mr. Sunday.
I have a question for Mr. Mumford. contemplating that we're excluding one in favor of Southridge Church?
Yes, as the resolution is drawn up here, as it's my understanding there that First Lutheran Church, which has had, it's a nonprofit that's had a license for 5 consecutive years, but they have never used that license. Southridge Church is a new nonprofit, and so I'm making the decision that the 5 years of getting a license by First Lutheran Church really doesn't give them the priority that was intended. If you got a license and never used it, you've wasted a license. And so they can come back in future years. They can certainly, this doesn't stop them from applying at any other time, but I think it's appropriate to give the new one, Southridge Church, the opportunity to get in and make some money.
Okay, so you're saying that they've never used their license ever?
That's my understanding.
Look for Ms. Barada, if you can clarify.
As far as I can recall, they've only used it in 2021 when they first applied, and then from 2022 on, they have not.
That answers the question. Okay. Mr. Murgard, anything else? Okay. Any proponents or opponents? Yes, sir. And if you'd state your name and address for the record.
I am Joe Chase from 902 McKenzie Drive. I'm here on behalf of Bellino Fireworks and the applicant. That church did operate on that site for 2 years, and then we had conflicts with the parking and with the tent location and another event. So the next year we pulled it, and then the following year there was conflicts with a new location that we were going to try to use instead of that location, because that location is a challenge to get all the conditions the city wants. We reduced the size of the tent, and we thought we could go there this year to make everything fit. And we redid the map and all the requirements to make that fit. So, we have applied every year. We've opened up. I think everyone that works with us knows we go head over heels to try to meet the city's guidelines and their setbacks and the parking restrictions and operate a safe environment. There was an incident there one year with some kids and BB guns, but that is behind us, I hope, and at anywhere in town. And so that's why we applied again, and we wanted to do this for the church.
Thank
It's
you.
one of the Papillion's oldest churches.
Thank you. Any other proponents or opponents?
Could-
Any other council discussion, Mr.?
Could I
Go ahead.
offer
Go ahead.
sorry, thank you. Kerry Trowbridge, Wild Willie's Fireworks, on behalf of Troy and Jen Vandeman with Southridge Church. For the past 20 years, Southridge Church is called Papillion home. And for many people in Papillion over those same 20 years, they have called Southridge Church home. Southridge Church welcomes all in the community, especially disillusioned and disconnected, the ones who are ready for positive influence. They have, since 2006, continued to vastly impact local families, children, marriages, and the broken. Southridge Church aims to revive the fire within, to reignite vigor and passion for life throughout Papillion. Southridge Church deserves to receive a Papillion retail fireworks sales permit for 2026 because of their dedication of 20 years to bettering the community of Papillion. Those funds will benefit all, not simply a few. I ask you, council members, today on behalf of Troy and Jennifer Vandeman, along with the entire Southridge Church family, that you consider awarding the 2026 Papillion fireworks permit to a 20-year friend of the community, Southridge Church.
Do you have any other proponents or opponents?
Point of order.
Council, yes.
What would it take to amend the ordinance? It's been amended before to allow 15 licenses this year.
I'm not going to answer that because I know we've been through it before and I don't remember the answer, so I'll look to Ms. Hutter.
Unless I'm missing something specific to the fireworks ordinance, which I do have pulled up right here, we would just have to go through the normal process that we use to amend any of the ordinances, because it is specific to 14. And so I think that makes it a little complicated to make amendments.
But for a timing perspective, it wouldn't be as simple as an amendment tonight to change the ordinance, because it is an ordinance, got to go through.
Correct.
reading.
Yes, I apologize. That's what I mean by the normal process that we do for any ordinance amendment. So first, second, third reading.
That, Mr. Munder.
Well, okay, to follow up on that. So if we approve 14 tonight, including Southridge Church, those 14 know that they have a license. If some council member wishes to introduce thereafter, next week, next meeting or something, an amendment of the ordinance to add one more, we should just make clear that we are not turning down First Lutheran Church. We're just not granting them a license. They can then, after we amend the ordinance, they can come in and ask for the 15th spot and go from there. I've been at this long enough that, frankly, I'm not quite sure what the relationship between our numbers and public safety or anything else is. We've changed it so often, but it does give us some guidelines, so I guess I'll stick with it, and I would vote for your amendment if you brought that up.
Mr. Sunday.
I was going to make the same amendment. I didn't realize we couldn't do it tonight, but there's plenty of precedence for that. I think one year recently we had 16 that we approved, so.
Any other discussion? So, Mr. Gaines.
What has changed our ability, I know in the past this has been highly debated, mostly during the COVID era, and this is the exact situation that I talked about during the COVID era at the landing, that we're going to have to just pick somebody out of a hat. And so in the past, we have approved more permits than what was allowed by ordinance. You don't believe that that's the case? Okay. So I'm going to make a substitute amendment to approve the First Lutheran Church.
Is there a second? So there's a motion by Councilman Gaines, second by Councilman Glover. Any discussion on a substitute motion? I'll call for the vote. A yes vote would make a substitute motion, and a no vote would leave the current motion on the floor. Please vote. Oh, the current motion was to put Southridge in. That's the motion that's on the floor. Substitute motion was made to put First Lutheran in that spot. So if that motion passes, it supersedes what's on the floor.
You want First Lutheran, you vote yes right now, or no?
Yes. And if you want Southridge, then vote no. Correct.
Four yeses, 3 nays by Fanslaw, Hoke, and Mumgard, 1 abstention by Sunday.
That's a mistake. I meant to vote no.
Okay, 1 nay by, or excuse me, 4 nays by Councilman Sunday.
And it doesn't change the outcome. So that does not pass. So we're with the original motion on the floor, which is Southridge. Any other discussion? And again, based on what was said, that doesn't necessarily turn down First Lutheran. It just gives assurance to the others, and if somebody does want to promote changing the ordinance. Mr. Gaines.
Well, just for further discussion for the two companies that are here, it's not a preference. The reason I made that substitute amendment is that I warned of these exact circumstances when we were negotiating this before, and I believe that it's kind of a principle thing. We need a different way to do this. And otherwise we sit here and we battle amongst each other, and it's not fair to either party that we get to make a choice between who we like more or whatever the case may be. So
the motion on the floor is all of the applicants plus Southridge, and First Lutheran is not the 14th. Mr. Bumgarden.
Okay, and I want to assure First Lutheran Church that if the ordinance is amended and we have room for one more, I would be very happy to vote to give a license to First Lutheran Church. I might at that point suggest be able to show us exactly where you're going to be, where it's going to be, so that we don't continue the process of issuing licenses that don't get used.
Any other discussion amongst
And
council?
about 3 more meetings, then.
I'm sorry. Mr. Mumger, do you have a question for him?
Okay, Mr. Chase?
If you can come up to the podium.
Okay, here,
Judge
as I
Chase, once again.
understand the process, we cannot add a 16th or a 15th tonight, and it will take 3 meetings to do that. So you're going to be looking at, sometime in March when we will be able to consider the First Lutheran application. Will that work?
I understand that, but my question is the ordinance is written that a retail sale of a fireworks license was approved by the city council continuously for the past 5 calendar years. So that would be the portion that you would need to change. The fact that they've been awarded a license for the last 5 years, you need to change that prerequisite to get on the list, because you're not, it doesn't say whether they open or not, it says if they've been awarded a license.
Well, I'll leave it to perhaps the lawyer to explain, but as I read the ordinance, it does not say that if you've had it for 5 years, it's a guarantee. It just simply says it's a priority.
Priority, that's correct.
And I don't read that as saying that you cannot eliminate somebody for a good reason, even if they have a priority.
I guess
Mr.
that
Mr.
calls
Gaines,
for
I think that
elimination.
answered his question. Mr. Gaines.
Quick question for Ms. Hutter. If they have priority, aren't we bound to select them above somebody else who has not been held a license for 5 years?
So, City Code Section 117-11, subsection C governs this. And I'm just going to take the liberty of reading it so that everybody here is clear on what we're talking about. When approving licenses for the retail sale of fireworks, the City Council shall give first priority to any individual business or other entity which has had a license for the retail sale of fireworks approved by the City Council continuously for the past 5 calendar years. Any license granted for the retail sale of fireworks from December 29th through December 31st shall not be considered when determining whether or not an applicant has had a license continuously for the past 5 calendar years. The council shall give second priority to nonprofit organizations which provide charitable, community, or civic operations within the city of Papillion. If after considering these 2 priorities, more applications remain than the maximum number of licenses which may be granted during any fireworks season, the City Council may further consider the length of service to the city and the plan for community betterment by charitable, community, or civic operations. In addition to and notwithstanding the above criteria, any applicant may be approved or disapproved based on consideration of the applicant's past performance as a permittee. So, based on the language of subsection C of City Code Section 117-11, you are restricted to those 14 licenses, and then it is a priority. It is not. It's not written as a guarantee. So priority is first to those that have had a continuous license for the past 5 years. Second to nonprofits. And then if you have more applicants, which you do in this instance, you get to consider community betterment, charitable and civic operations. And then the final sentence, I think, is probably the most important for this conversation. In addition to and notwithstanding the above criteria, any applicant may be approved or disapproved based on consideration of the applicant's past performance as a permittee. So it's fairly open.
Mr. Gaines, anything else?
I don't think I have any further comment. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mr. Ingberg.
Excuse me. Point of clarification. A no vote would cancel all of the 14, would it not?
A no vote would turn down the motion and no licenses would be granted.
No license would be granted. So it's either or.
Based on the current motion that's on the floor. Now, it can always be, the motion on the floor can be amended, but the one that's on the floor, if we do vote on it, it's to grant the 14 licenses.
Well, okay, I understand that, but since everybody else has commented, I think it's really unfair to penalize First Lutheran because they have operated before. And I think to overlook that flies in the face of all the fights we've had over the last 32 years about the fireworks ordinance. I thought we had this resolved that if we ever had more than 14, it would take a simple vote of the council, an amendment, to for 1 year, that 1 year, have more than 14. But unfortunately, if I vote against it, I'm going to penalize all 14. And I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to vote yes for it, but I don't think it's fair.
Mr. Gaines.
Sorry. Quick question. What's on the floor right now is Councilman Mumgard's amendment. So a no vote to his amendment would still only leave 13 permits up for, if we all vote no, neither one of these applicants gets a permit tonight. Then we vote, can we vote to just approve 13? And then if somebody wants to change the ordinance, which I'm in favor of, then we come back and we change it. But
Yeah, because Mr. Mumgards did have a motion and a second, so that's the one that's on the floor.
correct. Thanks,
And that's
Mayor.
the one we'll be voting on. Any other discussion? Mr. Mumgard.
I guess I'll just simply say I don't see the point of doing that. If we're going to come back later and add the other two, why are we going to tell both of them today to go away? Why don't we just approve one and then come back with one, but fine.
Mr. Sunday.
Mark this in the books for prosperity that I agree with Mr. Bumgard.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's no good reason to say no to South Ridge Church tonight. I think it is fair that First Lutheran be made to wait with the idea that I think all of us will probably vote to approve that for First Lutheran when the time comes. But if we're instructed in the ordinance to look to past performance, I think it's entirely appropriate that they be the one that be left out at this time. So.
Any other discussion? Mr. Gaines.
Apparently there's something going on this side of the room because I disagree with Mr. Sunday. And I think that it's against my morals to just arbitrarily exclude one person. And so for that reason, I'm going to vote no, and then I will fully support changing this ordinance as I complained about for many, many minutes the last time we addressed it. So,
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Five yeas, 3 nays by Ingberg, Gaines, and Glover.
Motion passes, and I don't think any council member has to reach out. I think staff's got it clear that we'll work on that ordinance and get that introduced at the next council meeting.
Do we have to vote again now? Because that was just an amendment, wasn't it?
That was amendment. That was the motion to amend. So it is amended. So that is the motion as amended. So any other discussion? Please vote. Oh, Mr. Gaines. Okay, please vote.
Seven yeas, 1 nay by Councilman Glover.
Motion passes. Item F3, Resolution R26022. Public hearing and a vote, a resolution to approve a preliminary plat for the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 20, Papillion, abutting vacated 2nd Street right-of-way, generally located on the southwest corner, East 2nd Street and North Beetle. Applicants Connie and Gary Martin, Papillion Replat 3. It's a public hearing. I'll carry over the comments from the previous one for the minutes, but welcome. I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Here to answer any more questions you guys may have in regard to the project and ask for approval.
Thank you. Any other proponents or opponents? Close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R26022? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Gaines. Council discussion. Mr. Mumgard.
Okay, well, as you well know, I'm going to vote against this. Okay, we sat here and we basically heard the argument or the proposal that, well, there isn't much traffic here. It's not going to get any worse. We only have a semi once a week or so. I would just point out that when that area, it's very clear that when that area was initially platted 40-plus years ago, it was clearly intended that Beetle Street would be the main street that would go north and south from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill. Was just happenstance that didn't happen. That happenstance has gone away a long time ago. It was always intended that this corner would have access to First Street just by going half a block down the street. Right now, what we're doing is saying, but we're going to accept something here that we would never accept in any new plat. If a plat came in and it had an area that, for no explanation, no good reason, had an area that you cannot get in and out of it other than one way, we would question that. Frankly, I live in an area like that. Terra Hills is inside the golf course, and you come in and out of it one way. That is not the ideal way of having street access in any development. So I am not willing to sit here and accept continuing to impose and maybe increasing the traffic to those houses to the north of this lot, simply because, well, we might as well. We've been doing it for 40 years. No, I'm going to vote against it.
Mr. Sunday.
Well, I think it's pretty clear from what we've heard that the Beetle Street expansion and approval of this zoning change are not mutually exclusive. One doesn't depend upon the other. We already have a situation now already where vehicles are coming in from the north and parking on this particular property. Some of the cars that have to park there spill out onto the street currently, so that's actually a detriment to the neighborhood right now. This would be an improvement to the situation. And it doesn't matter either way whether Beetle Street gets expanded to First or not. This is a good proposal for the situation that exists. So I'm going to vote for it.
Mr. Stubbe.
Thank you. So I agree with both of those individuals sitting across from me. So I've always voted for having Beetle Street extended, and I think it really should be. And because even though the potential today is that that particular expansion of that property is not necessarily going to significantly impact the traffic in the area, it is a residential area, and there's only one way to get out, and that's go 2 blocks north and go back to the west. And so even those tenants that are into the day are indicating that, yes, they want that space, but that could change when the lease is up. And so you could end up increasing the amount of traffic. It could end up being more semis. It could end up being a retail type of operation. So at some time in the future, and I agree that it would be beneficial to the city to allow for that vacant property to be utilized in this particular case. So I agree with Mr. Mumgard from the standpoint that, yes, something needs to be done, but I also think that we should, that I plan on voting for this particular change.
Mr. Ingberg.
Well, since everybody's being so agreeable and everything tonight, I will point out I agree with Mr. Sunday, and I agree partly with Mr. Stubbe. I totally disagree with Mr. Mumgard, only because I want to make a correction. Mr. Mumgard said the reason we don't have that road and other roads over there extended was by pure happenstance. Let me remind everybody that the Planning Commission approved not doing extensions. This council, as a majority, voted against doing those extensions. So it wasn't happenstance. It was by a vote of 2 parties. So just to remind everybody of that. I vote, as Mr. Stubbe said, I agree with him. This won't dramatically change anything in that neighborhood. And I think it makes good common sense to allow this to occur. It'll be much more of a benefit to the city and a couple of local businesses that started their businesses here and have grown them here. I think it'd be to our benefit to approve it.
Mr. Mumgard.
Well, let me just quickly clarify my happenstance. When that area was developed, was platted and developed, there was no First Street. So there was nothing for Beetle Street to connect to. That's the happenstance. First Street has now existed for, 30 years maybe. And yet we sit there with a plat that never got the final picture that it was intended. But on the other hand, I'm very encouraged by the positive comments I'm hearing from council members. So when in the near future a council member comes in with an amendment to the road plan or something that would extend Beetle Street this 50, 60 feet, I'm going to say hip, hip, hooray, I'm very proud of you.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Seven yeas, one nay by Councilman Baumgart.
Motion passes. Related item F4, Resolution R260023, a public hearing and a vote. Resolution to approve a special use permit to allow trade services as a permitted use on the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 20, Papillion, and abutting vacated 2nd Street right-of-way, generally located on the southwest corner of East 2nd Street and North Beetle, Papillion Replat 3. It's a public hearing. I'll open it. We'll carry the comments over. I don't see anybody else coming up. Close the public hearing. Is there a motion to approve Resolution R260023? Motion by Councilman Fanslow. Second by Councilman Sunday. Any more discussion? Please vote.
7 yeas, one nay by Councilman Baumgart.
Motion passes. Next is item F5, Ordinance 2075. An ordinance to amend Chapter 85 of the Papillion Municipal Code to adopt regulations for keeping and licensing of chickens, introduced by Councilman Gaines. Is there a motion to approve Ordinance 2075? Motion by Councilman Gaines. Second by Councilman Sunday. We do have a couple of motions to amend. Mr. Mumgard.
Yes, I move that ordinance 2075 be amended as shown on page, I believe, 76 of the material in front of the council, to amend the section 85-46C to ensure the protection and validity of valid restrictive real estate covenants and provide a grandfather clause for residents who obtain a chicken license prior to any covenant amendment. You've all seen, that's my amendment. It's on page 76, 77 of the material.
And that has been handed out in advance to all the council members, so everybody sees the items that are being struck and the ones that are being changed. It's in section 8546, item C. Unless the city attorney says to, I won't necessarily read them all because everybody does have it. And it's very clearly marked what the changes are. But we have a motion to amend. Is there a second on the motion to amend? Second by Councilman Gaines. Any discussion on Mr. Mumgard's amendment? Mr. Sunday.
I support the amendment because I think it serves to clarify, but I actually don't think it changes anything. I think that was already the case anyway. But again, I'll support the amendment.
Mr. Mumgard.
And I'm not going to terribly disagree with Mr. Sunday that the original ordinance had a reference to covenants. But as I read that reference, it was solely for covenants that existed in areas outside the city that didn't get annexed. And I'm not doing away with that. That would be kept in place. I just want the same privilege to be given to the people who are inside the city and have had a covenant for a long time, or create a new covenant that says, no, it is our agreement in this neighborhood that we will not have chickens. Now, I can start with the personal impact. My neighborhood, Terra Hills, has a covenant that says you cannot have chicken coops. And those covenants are in place perpetually, forever until they're changed. So if this passes, I can tell my neighbors, no, the rest of the city, they get their own, but we've made it clear, we don't want them here. You can't, if the city agrees, you can't have them here. I know there are other areas of the city principally newer areas, that have similar covenants. My proposal says, okay, those covenants control, and the city will not issue a license there. And my amendment also says, and by the way, if you don't have a covenant and you want to go through the process of creating a covenant, which is a contract between the property owners, you can do so. You can create a covenant. I mean, you can get 6, 7, 8, 10 lots together and go through the process of voting for a covenant that says you can't have chickens. And the city will honor that. And the city should honor that because, I know a lot of people just tend to think that covenants are something that you can ignore. No, no, no. Covenants are the expectation and desire of the people who live there. And so, if that expectation and desire has not been expressed because there's no covenant there that says you can't have chickens or the equipment there for chickens, okay, the city can say you can have chickens. But if the people in a neighborhood have adopted a covenant that says not here, then the city ought to respect that, step back and say we will not issue licenses there. And that's true of an area that has current covenants, an area that gets annexed with current covenants, or an area that amends their covenants or institutes new covenants to say not here. And that's all I'm doing.
Mr. Sunday.
I was of the understanding that if I went and got 6 chickens based upon the lack of a covenant in my neighborhood, and then my neighborhood decides to change that aspect of the neighborhood, I'm grandfathered in with the right to keep my chickens until I abandon or move away from that property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Please vote.
Four yeas and 4 nays by Councilman Fanslaw, Hoke, Stube, and Glover.
So the motion to amend fails. I believe there's another motion to amend. Mr. Gaines.
I move to amend section 8548E to remove the provision allowing for denial of a permit based on an objection by a majority of applicants adjoining property owners and to allow for an initial provisional license in such circumstance.
And again, that was handed out at everybody, so everybody sees both what was struck and what was added. And again, that was in section 8548, item E, subsection 2 and 3. So we have a motion by Councilman Gaines, a second by Councilman Sunday. Any discussion on the motion to amend? Mr. Gaines.
So the purpose of this motion was that the way that this ordinance was initially written was that if a majority of the neighbors objected, that you would be denied a permit. However, after discussion with the city attorney, we didn't believe that was a legal provision. Also, after speaking with some constituents, we didn't think it was fair that you get a permit based on, it may be based on truth, but it also may be based on the fact that your neighbors don't like you, or whatever the case may be. But we felt it would be better if the majority of neighbors object, you get a provisional license, which puts a higher standard of review on your permit when you come back to review it or to renew it in the future. So,
any discussion on the motion to amend? Please vote.
Four yeas, 4 nays by Councilman Fanslaw, Stube, Mumgarde, and Glover.
So the motion to amend fails, so we're back to the original motion on the floor. Any discussion on the motion as originally presented? Mr. Mumgarde.
Well, okay, the first time this was before the council by Mr. Gaines. I voted in favor of it. But, since the city council has now taken the position that it will not honor and respect the covenants, the agreements that have been made between property owners about chickens, I'm going to have to vote against it and keep chickens out across the board.
Mr. Gaines.
I wanted to address the HOAs, the covenants of the HOAs. let's go back to the very beginning, then I'm going to address Mr. Mumgard's concern. This all started back in this is mostly for Councilwoman Hoke, who wasn't here back in 2012, but this all started back in 2012. Sometime approximately September or October, the person that used to sit in my seat brought forward this motion, and it failed. So sometime in early 2013, I did meet with Mayor Black. I asked him what things would have to be in this ordinance for you not to veto it if we were to pass it, and that's where this process really started. Over the years, I've amended it and amended it and amended it. After the last meeting specifically, I listened to Councilmember Stubbe and Councilmember Ingers, what their requests and their concerns about this. So some of the things that we added, which is contrary to what Mr. Mumgard said, is we did add protection for the HOAs. In this ordinance, if you have an HOA and you have covenants that do not allow you to have chickens, the city is not authorized to issue you a permit. So part of that purpose was to take that burden off of the HOA fighting that. So, you know, if you live in an HOA or any other area that has covenants that doesn't allow chickens, then you cannot get a permit from the city, would not be allowed there. The city would be allowed to then go and enforce the unlawful possession of chickens. One of the things that we talked about when we specifically talk about 10-foot setbacks, and I know I get a lot of blowback from this, but is the city of Papillion is a special place. And so when we have extra regulations and it requires more to live here, to build here, or any of those examples, the same thing applies to this chicken ordinance. My number one priority, and I believe you could ask the fire department and the police department, my number one priority is safety. And so this ordinance was drafted specifically based off of all the concerns the council members had and with safety. This is we would be the only community that allows chickens that before you get a permit, you have to take an educational course. I bet a half dozen different entities reach out to me and say, hey, we'd love to teach that course. We have very strict coop guidelines. The same thing as planning. When you build something in Omaha, it probably has a little bit lesser planning requirements than the city of Papillion, so the builders tell me. And the same thing applies to chicken coops. Our standards for chicken coops prevent pests from getting in. They prevent raccoons from digging underneath because of the skirting requirements. They prevent, you know, they're all aimed to prevent animals getting in the food, eating the chickens. They prevent the chickens getting out. This is all about protection of the community. And I have listened to each one of the council members over the years, and I've addressed every single concern to the best of my knowledge that any of the council members have had. I think we put together an awesome, thanks to Ms. Hutter, we put together an awesome ordinance that's extremely restrictive, that would promote the responsible owning of urban chickens. And I would ask my other council members that had those objections and voiced those objections to please support me on this, because I fixed the things that you have asked me to fix. And I put in front of us a responsible ordinance that is way more restrictive than any other community. And one final note is all those other communities, they're not reporting problems with chickens. Their communities aren't stricken with bird flu, and the chickens aren't running rampant like they are in Key West. It's very controlled in other communities. They're not having problems with them. This ordinance is more restrictive to make sure that we don't have any problems here in the city of Papillion. I just ask for everyone's support for this ordinance, for our community members that have wanted this for the last 13 years.
Ms. Hoke?
Question for staff. Does the city currently have or maintain a record of all HOA codes, provisions, whatever they're called in an HOA, and all existing neighborhood covenants and their current status?
No, because we don't enforce those. They generally are filed by that HOA or the SID with the Register of Deeds. And so when a homeowner buys their property, they would see it on the title search, but it's their responsibility. The city does not enforce covenants.
So an applicant will go to the building department to apply for a chicken license. the building department then has to call the county register of deeds to see if there's, what is that process going to look like?
Mr. Gibbons.
I'll try to do my best here. If it comes in for the building permit for the coop and or the chicken license in itself, we may have to coordinate with the city attorney's office to make sure that the covenants are in effect and that they are binding for that particular neighborhood or that subdivision.
Every time an applicant comes in, as long as they're in a different neighborhood?
And again, I don't want to speak for the attorney's office, but again, that's what we would do in this situation because we do not have a maintained
I'll ask Ms.
list.
Hutter to weigh in.
So as drafted, the application requires that the applicant provide a statement regarding any restrictive covenants on their property. They're going to be in the best position to know what the restrictive covenants may be for their property. It is something that we can go verify then. There are not an enormous number of active restrictive covenants within the city. I think the place that it will come up most likely is places that existed outside the city and are then annexed into the city, if those covenants are designed to survive annexation. Some are, some aren't.
So it'll be more of an attestation.
Yes, yes.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, I'm still concerned about the impact on staff time. Does the building code currently have a clear section about what is required in a coop in order to prevent vermin infestation, infiltrative predators, et cetera, or will that have to be built and amended?
That's actually outlined within the chicken ordinance here. The coop requirements are outlined in the chicken ordinance.
That it's constructed in such a way as to prohibit the entrance of predators, something along those lines?
Yep, there are several provisions. It talks about the size, at least 4 square foot of floor space per chicken. The construction and location is not permitted to, the construction of and location of is not permitted to conflict with Chapter 92 or Chapter 205. It has to be no closer than 15 feet from any lot line. Talks about sanitary conditions. The way feed has to be stored, how the actual construction, appropriate ventilation, et cetera. That's all contained within this ordinance.
Okay. What about, we're in Nebraska. It's cold and chickens don't do well in the cold. What does electrical code say about electrifying a coop to provide warmth?
So for that, I would defer, I don't know if Mr. Gibbons knows off the top of his head, or I would defer to Mr. Soika regarding that specifically. And he is present.
He is coming up.
Brad Soika, Director of Building and Fire Safety for City of Papillion. It would just have to follow the electrical code. They would pull an electrical permit, and everything would have to be installed to the same code that you would use for a residential. But it wouldn't have to be the same standards as like, a house. We wouldn't have insulation or anything like that, but same electrical code.
And because it would be exposed, it would just be along the lines of exterior electrical, all conduit?
Correct.
Okay.
All conduit, still have to be GFCI protected because it's outdoors. Yeah, we would still follow the NEC.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaines, do you have any kind of round number? I'm not looking for, within dozens. How many folks have come forward in the history of the chicken ordinance to advocate for chickens by means of speaking publicly, sending written communication?
I'm going to say my personal knowledge, I have heard from over 1,000 different people throughout this process. Now, we're not meaning to scare anybody. A large percentage of those people, I'm going to guess 80%, had voiced to me that they did not have any desire to have urban chickens. However, they supported the movement. one of the other points that I wanted to base this off of, if you look at and I don't know the exact numbers, Mr. Zivney might know them, but there's a very small number of permits pulled in the other communities around us. So I think that this has gained a lot of traction on property rights people, which is where I sit because I don't intend to own urban chickens. And it's gained a lot of traction with people that know people that had chickens, so they support it. But I don't think that my best guess would be that while there might, if you go out and you look at the Papillion chicken page on Facebook, there's lots of followers on it. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Papillion that support this. However, I think my best guess would be 30 or 40 permits are pulled from this. So I don't think we're looking at hundreds and hundreds of permits being pulled. Another concern when we were talking about, I've had to educate myself on chickens because I've not owned them nor intend to own them. However, the majority of chicken owners in the area, they do not have heated coops. They use hay and I believe Ms. Hutter looked into that also, if she can speak a little bit on that.
It's interesting, so not in my role as city attorney, but we have chickens. I don't live in the community. They're legal where I am, and they do fine in the cold. They hunker down on their little coops and cover their feet, and we haven't had any cold related problems, for what it's worth.
Ms. Hoke.
Good to know. Thank you for the education. So my hesitation here is that the residents existing already in the city, notwithstanding those in favor of chickens, have purchased a home in Papillion understanding that chickens, goats, pot-bellied pigs, et cetera, are not allowed on their property. And to create an ordinance that permits that citywide, to me, to benefit the maybe 30 to 40 individuals, is a huge impact on their neighbors and their downhill neighbors. And when you buy a home, if you buy a home next to an empty lot, you're kind of rolling the dice. You don't know what's going to go in there. It's an almost certainty, regardless of what your real estate agent tells you, that it will eventually become something other than an empty lot or farmland. But when you buy a home within the corporate limits of Papillion, you buy one thinking that nobody's going to put up a chicken coop next door.
Any other, Mr. Sunday, you had yours on, and I think I took you out of the queue.
I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Before we start every meeting here, we stand up and we look at the flag that our founders died to protect, and we talk about our liberties. One nation under God with liberty and justice for all. What is liberty? What is liberty? Black's Law Dictionary defines liberty in a legal, not poetic sense, and the wording varies, but liberty is the freedom from restraint and the right to act, think, speak, and live as one chooses, so long as that freedom does not infringe on the rights of others. So we have a liberty interest in our own property. And for one time, I'd like to see this council protect the liberty interests of its citizens. We can do that tonight. It's not a huge burden on anybody to allow 30 or 40 families that want to have chickens to have them. We have the safeguards in place, if there is a problem, to remove that problem right away. So let's side with liberty for once, please. Just one time. Because it's important. We all pledge to do that, to protect liberty. Do we mean it when we do that, or are we just going through the motions? Do we live in America, or do we live in a tyrannical society? I'd like to think we still live in a free country where we do have liberty and property rights. So can't we protect those property rights? And again, I understand the concerns, but doesn't freedom outweigh those concerns when there's already provisions to take care of the problem if one comes up? And further, look at our neighbors. Bellevue, Gretna, Omaha, not a big problem. So why do we think we're going to have a big problem if we vote no? Why do we think it's going to be a problem if we approve this tonight? I don't see it. I think it's just a lot of hand-wringing with no evidence to back it up. So let's side with liberty tonight. Thanks.
Mr. Ingberg.
Well, I certainly don't want to, I can't follow that speech. But I will tell you that I've always traditionally voted against the urban chicken ordinance. Always have. A couple things have changed since the last time I voted against it, though. One of which is my district just changed. I represent a different group of folks than I did the last time. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, although, we all vote for the overall care of the city. We also have some obligation to those that we directly represent. And that has changed since the last time when I voted against it. From what I could tell, the best I could tell, the areas I represent now are more in favor of allowing chickens. At least that's the impression I get. It's not a scientific measurement. But the second thing that's changed is I always felt in the past, when this has come before the council for many, many years, the ordinance itself wasn't very well written. I mean, it was pretty wide open, and there were some things that concerned me, and that's why I voted against it. This time, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but the concerns I had, working with Councilman Gaines, I was able to plug in some changes in the ordinance that I thought were important that we have there. So those exist now. They didn't exist the last time, nor any time before that. Now, I myself don't personally, I don't base my support of this tonight based on the fact that what other cities around us do or don't do. I've always approached it in the sense that Papillion is a special place. We base things on what's best for us, not because somebody in a neighbor community does it. But, and I may get chastised for changing my vote after all these years, but honestly, I think this ordinance is well written. I think that it protects people. We may find it needs some changes over time. Heck, we could find out a year from now that it's not working. But I think this is the best opportunity to try it. So I'm going to support it. The only thing that I would ask is I think it's taken care of in the ordinance, and I didn't want to change it this late date. But a couple things I'd like to see is when people apply for a building permit to have chickens, I would like to see people that own rental property, if they're not aware of it, at least we do something to require that the property owner of the rental property has to approve it, because changes are being made to property they own. Second of all, and I think this is purely an administrative function, I don't think we need to include it in the ordinance per se, but similar to when I was involved in rewriting the property management code, the thing that I would ask administratively that either by direction of the mayor or the city administrator or the deputy city administrator, I would like to see, since this is new and it's something different, that in 6 months, a committee of the council selected by the mayor review it to see how it's working, to see if there's anything we need to change. And I would ask we do that the first anniversary as well, just to make sure, since it's something new, that it's working well. Just like we do with the property maintenance. That's worked out doing it that way. That's the only thing I would suggest. Otherwise, I plan on voting for it, come what may. But I think it's a well-written ordinance, and it includes the things that I wanted in it all these years. So, thank you.
Any other council discussion? Mr. Gaines.
Mr. Ingberg, if you would be willing to co-sponsor a letter, I would be more than happy to ask for this ordinance to go in front of the Public Safety Committee in 6 months to review it. I believe that I've alleviated every concern that exists out there, but I think oversight was a good idea, so I appreciate you making that suggestion, and I will certainly follow it. And that's all I want to say. Thanks.
If the motion passes, we've got that noted, so we'll go ahead and do that if it does pass. Any other discussion? If not, please vote.
Three yeas, 5 nays by Councilman Fanslaw, Hoax, Stube, Mumgard, and Glover.
Motion fails. That's all the regular agenda items. Committees, I believe the Public Safety Committee met, and Mr. Gaines, you're the chair.
Yes, Mayor. Tonight in the Public Safety Committee, we addressed Chapter 85, so specifically some issues with dogs that have been brought up by constituents. This has actually been an ongoing process for the legal department for the last couple years of reviewing Chapter 85, making sure that it meets the requirements of not only the state statutes, but the needs of the constituents. We tonight just had a brief overview of some of the items that were going to be changed or that were requested being changed. We did not take any vote, but we did get a brief overview on that there are going to be some broadened definitions. There's going to be some clarification on fees. Potentially dangerous dog and dangerous dog, there'll be some changes to the definitions and enforcement of that. Waste removal and clarification on the owner-keeper provisions and some clarification on impoundment. This issue should come back before the Public Safety Committee again sometime in April, one of those meetings, and at that point we might have a recommendation to bring it to full council, but we did want to buy some extra time to not only review the changes that are being made, but to let staff finalize those changes and give us a full and accurate description of the changes. So,
thank you. No other committees met. Any comments from the floor? Welcome. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Rachel Dunham, 707 Crest Drive. To keep this brief, I am one of those people who is very believing, as you can see from my chicken, pro-chicken. I have zero intent of owning chickens. I know very few people who are about and passionate about this project who intend to own chickens. It's, as Mr. Sunday put perfectly, it's all about property and liberty. Thank you. And the order will not be done. Well, I'm sure we'll keep talking about this ad nauseum.
Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Council comments? Seeing none. Just a couple notes from the last couple of weeks. People are not aware, Offutt Air Force Base has an honorary commander program, and it was just kicked off for the first time ever, and Mr. Sturzma is an honorary commander at the base. That's a big deal. That's about base relations. They've had a couple of programs around this, and it's a very serious one about base relations, and it helps a lot actually with mission recruitment when they see the community support. So Mr. Sturzman, congratulations on that, and thanks for what you're doing there. Ms. Powers, Mr. Sturzman, myself, Mr. Mumgard actually went up to Fremont. They were having a council retreat about a community center, and they wanted to learn a little bit from our experience, and so we went up there and shared that. The Sarpy County had they called it a wall breaking for the 911 center. They bought the building up next to the old jail, and so they started destruction on that. And it's going to be a state-of-the-art 911 center. And then the existing 911 center, which is in a dungeon in a basement, they're going to keep as a backup. So that'll really be a nice enhancement. And then United Cities met again, and just normal, typical reminder, if there's legislation you care about in this existing session, we do have a good mechanism to be tracking bills, and they move fast with the hearings and the amendments on the floor. So if there's something you care about, make sure we're aware of that, and we can track that for you. And again, not too late to be thinking about the next 2-year cycle of legislation. So if there's things we should be working on, let us know. And if you have any questions about any of that, let us know. I think that's all the regular agenda items. Mr. Mumgarden.
I guess I'll follow up on that with a question. There's it's my understanding from the newspaper, there's a bill that's been introduced by the senator from Lincoln that would allow people in SIDs to vote on us, to participate in electing officials inside the city. I find that a tremendously stupid, harmful way to go. I look at that and see it's introduced by a senator from Lincoln. Lincoln does not have SIDs, and I'm wondering what the heck is that senator's interest in doing this. But have we taken any stands to oppose that?
Yeah, and it's not just residents of an SID, it's a resident within the ETJ, so it'd be anybody living in the 2-mile zone, whether you're in an SID or not. And yes, the United Cities did take a formal position to oppose, and the League of Municipalities took a position to oppose as well. A lot of it's taxation without representation. I mean, you're going to be voting on a council member, but you're not paying property taxes to the city, but you could be here passing a budget. And so, yes, we've taken formal positions, and I believe Omaha's taken a formal position on it. I think Lincoln's taken a formal position, and then a group of cities out west have taken a formal position. Mr. Sunday.
So actually, maybe the other way around would be representation without taxation.
Yes, you are correct. Thank you. That's exactly right. Mr. Fanslow.
So just to piggyback off what Councilman Mumgard said, my understanding of the bill is once a city has to redistrict their council seats is when it would take effect. I'm not sure it takes effect at the time of the bill. I don't think it really matters.
No, you are correct. So if the bill passes,
Correct.
then we are required to redistrict so the people outside city limits come into a council ward, and then the next election then. So theoretically, you could have a full council of non-residents, the way the bill is currently set up. So yes, we've taken a formal position on that one. Any other questions? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilman Glover. Second by Councilman Fanslow. Please vote. Mr. Glover.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
We are adjourned.